Okay, yeah, I think the light's better from here. All right, let's get started. So today we're just gonna go over everything we've done the last 3 weeks. We're gonna add back and shoulders, a little bit of that. And then I'm gonna leave some time for you guys to ask any questions you might have. And we'll do a little bit of a stretching routine as well, just to kind of finish on a good, relaxed note for the week. So as usual, we'll start with our feet. Foot roller, if you have it. Tennis ball, if you have it. Otherwise, let's start just with massage. Let's go ahead and wiggle your joints around if you like. Move your feet a little bit. Starting with the inside arch, inside line of the foot, and going to the middle when you're ready, and eventually to the outside. But we'll spend a little bit of time on our feet today because they've worked hard and need some extra love. And let's go ahead and give our ankles a little bit of work here. Just gently roll them around. Other way. Get them nice and loose. And go ahead and give your foot a little stretch. Go ahead and pull out and down. And then stretch it the other way, flexed. And if you have a roller, go ahead and stand up and roll your feet. And if not, you can keep massaging your feet. And if you have a ball, let's go ahead and move to the ball. And just let your foot kind of spread over the tennis ball. Pull it back and forth. And forward and back if you like. And let's spend a little time on the outside and just gently bend and stretch your knee. And that's going to stretch all those little tiny outside muscles of the calf that get tight. And let's finish up with that foot. And just take a demi point and stretch over the arch, alternating. Stretch out all the little muscles in your foot that get locked up from jumping and from point work, from contemporary, doing floor work. And let's do one more stretch for our Achilles tendon on the floor. So go ahead and just kneel and push over, gently push over the top of your foot. You see it from this side. Or just pushing slightly forward, and you should feel a little stretch back here. And when you've done that, go ahead and move to your other foot. Starting with the inside arch area. And moving to the middle area. And outside when you're ready, outside area of the foot. And go ahead and wiggle your toes. Put some space between the joints. And gently roll your ankle. And gently the other way. And give yourself a little stretch, pull out, and then arch. So the reason we want to pull out is to make space in our ankles so that we can get the most stretch possible, because if we just go straight back, you're kind of jamming your ankles. So it's really nice to give a little pull out and down. And go ahead and stretch it the other way, flexed. And then when you're ready, if you have your foot roller, go ahead and stand up and roll out your foot on the other side. Or keep massaging that foot. And let's go ahead and switch to tennis ball or lacrosse ball. And roll inside and outside. And back and forth, if that feels good to you. And at some point, roll to the outside and then do a really gentle bend and stretch of the knee. Stretch out outside calf muscles. And finish up rolling that foot. And we'll take a couple stretches, demi point, and over the arch. And let's stretch out the Achilles tendon on that side one more time. And just a gentle push over. Stretch out the back of the leg. All right, let's move on to calves. And we're not really going to do any range tests today, because at this point, hopefully, you guys can feel the difference between stretching before and after rolling on your own body. There is a difference. And if you don't have a roller, of course, use your hands to massage. But starting with the inside line of the calf. And actually, since we're just going through a rolling routine, pretty much, keep rolling. I'm gonna put on a little bit of music. And let's move to the middle line of the calf. And move to the outside line. And if you feel like it, tennis ball right under the belly of the calf. And just roll side to side. Or if this doesn't feel good, you can just keep rolling out your calves. And let's go ahead and move to our other calf, starting with the inside line, rolling or massaging. And let's move to the middle line. And let's move to the outer line. If you like, switch to tennis ball. All right. Let's switch to hamstrings. You have your foam roller with you. Go ahead and pick a side. And start with the middle line. Knee facing the ceiling. And remember, you can cross one leg over if that feels better. And let's move to the inner line. Slightly turn it. And let's move to the outer line, slightly turned out. And let's switch to the gracilis. Turning the leg in. And rolling along the side. And you can get up close to the hip if you like. We'll spend a little more time on the hip later though. And let's switch to the IT band. And remember, if this hurts too much with the roller, you're welcome to use a stick instead. And let's switch to the other leg, hamstring, starting with the middle line. And let's turn in slightly, inside line of the hamstring. And let's move to the outside line, turn out slightly. And let's move to the gracilis. Bring the leg in. And let's switch to the IT band. And let's switch to our quads. So if you have a stick, go ahead and start with that. If not, just massage. Starting with the middle line of the quads. And let's go to the inside line of the quad. And switch to the outside line. switch to the other leg, middle line. And inside line. And switch to the outside line. All right, let's switch to foam roller. You have one. And roll out the front of the hip and the quad. So remember, this is pretty much parallel that we start, and then later we'll turn out a little. And let's go ahead and turn out the leg like you would for an arabesque. Go onto the hip slightly turned out. And we'll turn it in just slightly. And get the side of the hip. This is a little bit higher. And let's do the other side. Front of the hip. Starting parallel. And if it feels good to go into your quad here as well, you can do that all the way up to the knee and then all the way back into the hip. Totally up to you. And let's turn the leg out slightly like you would for arabesque. Slightly turn out. And let's turn it in slightly and get up into the side of the hip. All right, let's go ahead and switch to our glutes. So if you have a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball, Find a spot that feels tight. And just relax. And let that leg turn out. And pick a new spot. Find another spot that's tight. And let's go ahead and move to the side. Lay on your side, on your hip, on top of the ball. And if you want, you can go ahead and roll a little bit. If rolling doesn't feel good, you can keep working on a pressure point. And let's switch to the other side. Find a pressure point. And relax. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky to find. Relax. And find a new point. And let's go ahead and switch to the side. So tennis ball under the hip, directly to the side. You should be able to find a comfortable spot there. Sometimes it takes a little while to find. But this shouldn't hurt too much. So if it's hurting a lot, move to a different spot. And go ahead and come up. And let's roll out the whole side of your glutes. All right, and before we start with the new stuff, let's just do some quick stretches. Start with butterfly, stretch over gently. And let's switch to frog. And let's take a stretch in second position. So for this, either you can let your back drop or you can curl it up and push back, whatever feels like a better stretch to you. Now really gently, we're gonna rock and switch our legs. So rock back and come forward. And switch the feet and come forward. And rock back and forward, switching your feet each time. And switch. This gives you a gentle stretch for your hips while not being too much on one side at a time. And let's come into a hamstring stretch. Stretch forward. You can stretch both feet or you can stretch one foot at a time. Up to you. I like to stretch one foot at a time first and then both feet just because it feels easier on my hamstrings, but for everybody it's different. And if you're stretching just one leg, go ahead and stretch the other leg. If you're stretching both feet, keep stretching. And go ahead and stretch both. If you haven't yet, just for a little bit. You can drop your head. And we'll come up. Let's stretch one leg out to the side, flexed. Just stretch over, reaching towards your toe. If you're flexible enough, you can grab your foot, but if you're not, just stretch to the side. And let's stretch forward with just the one leg. And let's switch legs. Other leg. Stretch to the side first. Up stretch forward. Where are you supposed to feel this stretch? It depends on your body. You might feel it in here. You might feel it more in the hip, just depending on how you're built. You might not feel this one at all if you're really flexible that way. Now let's go ahead and go into both legs. Really gently stretch forward. You can flex or point your feet here or just leave them relaxed. And let's come up and change to pigeon. Let's start with pigeon in parallel. So the back leg, knee is pointing straight down to the floor. And if you feel like this is not enough of a stretch, what you can do is you can push off the back of your leg, your toes. But this is plenty stretch for a lot of people. Another really good thing to do is take your hand and twist across. And you'll feel a little extra stretch up into your psoas. And let's come back and go ahead and turn out the leg in pigeon, so like you would for an arabesque. And gently push this hip forward. So this is what's happening. This hip is pushing forward. And you can also actually take your leg and rotate it outwards, just to try to get a little bit more stretch and release. And let's go ahead and switch legs. Starting in parallel, completely parallel. And if you like, go ahead and twist across. Or off your toe. Whatever feels good. Or you can stay straight. And let's come back and go ahead and turn out that back leg if you would for an arabesque or soda shop. And if you want, you can give yourself a little bit of pull here for some more rotation. So here, you can either have your leg down and it can be slightly bent, or you can try to keep it straight like you would and push down towards the ground. Whatever feels better for you, whatever feels like a better, safer stretch. And let's come out of that stretch and take a lunge on the first side. You can either have your knee up or knee down. And let's switch sides. Other leg lunge. Knee up or down, your choice. And bring it back. Now we're going to do the stretch that we did for hamstrings and calves together. So walk your hands out to where you can keep your heels down on the floor in a downward dog. And we're going to rock forward and curl slightly. And then rock back, walk forward, scoop through the arms. And push back. And curl. And push. And arch. And curl, keep the heels down into the ground. Arch. And into a neutral spine and bicycle your feet. And go ahead and walk your hands back, either with bent knees or straight knees. And then just stretch here for a little bit. Let gravity do the work. Hold your elbows, hold the backs of your legs. You can put your hands on the floor. Just try to relax. And go ahead and bend your knees down to the ground. And just come to a comfortable sitting or kneeling position. All right, last muscle group that we're going to talk about in this intensive. I'll make sure you guys can see. So we're going to be talking about the spine and the back and shoulders. And all of this is pretty sensitive, so you want to be really careful. I'm actually going to show you guys a few more stretches than rolling exercises because you just really, really, really need to be careful, especially when rolling around the shoulder areas and especially if you have a shoulder injury. So right now I actually do have a shoulder injury. So I'll show you the things that you can do while you have an injury because I know what it feels like, but also just some things that are good to do if your shoulder is okay or if you maybe do the stretch instead of roll. But anyways, basic idea for rolling is, so if you pretend that this here is the spine, the bones of the spine, on each side there's a set of muscles on this side and on this side of the spine. So when you're rolling out, you don't want to be rolling directly along the spine. You want to be trying to target one side and then the other side. So when you're rolling with something really big, like a foam roller, you can roll along directly along the spine because you're hitting both of the muscles on the side and they're taking the pressure off the spine. But if you're rolling like with a ball, you have to be really careful not to roll directly along here because that's just really, really bad. You don't want to do that. There's no muscles there. It's not doing anything for you. It's just hurting. So if you do want to roll with a ball, I would not suggest using one of these. I would suggest, if you can, taking 2 lacrosse balls or 2 tennis balls and then like a sticky bandage, and you put them together and then you just wrap it in the bandage so it's something like this where there's a space. You can see there's a space for your spine right here, but then something to target the muscles on either side of your spine. So if you feel like you need more pressure than a foam roller, this is something that's good to use. For the lower back, you can also use the stick. You can go at an angle. So I'm not going directly like, I don't know if you guys can see. I'm not going directly here. I'm going a little bit at an angle. So I'm getting the side and the back. And I'm pretty much staying close to the lower back. You can get into the top of the glutes a little bit as well. This is pretty gentle. If you have a bigger stick, it works for more leverage. But this is just a really gentle way to roll out your back. And of course, you can do it on the other side as well. If you don't have a stick and you do have a foam roller, you can lay completely flat on the foam roller and just roll back and forth here. And your weight's evenly distributed, so you're not putting too much pressure on your spine. Or if you want to target one side more than the other, you can turn slightly this way. And as long as you're not putting pressure directly on the bones of your spine, it's fine. And so here I'm not going up too high. Pretty much I'm feeling where my ribs are and not going above the ribs. I'm just going from the base of the ribs down into the lower back, and you can roll all the way into your glutes if you like, but I pretty much stay kind of the middle lower area of the back because that's what feels comfortable for me. And you can do it on the other side. Usually I don't spend a ton of time rolling out my back because my lower back tends not to get super tight. My shoulders and my upper back are a little bit worse, but it's different for everybody. Some people have a really tight lower back, and this is really, really helpful. So if you do end up buying or making one of these, I wouldn't suggest rolling on it, but I would suggest, just like we did with the glute releases with the tennis ball, just finding an area that feels tight and laying down. So what you want to do is you want to feel around for your spine. So like my spine's right here, and then put the ball on either side, and then just lay down and try to relax and make sure that you're not putting pressure on your bones. And then, moving to another spot and releasing that. Now, shoulders and upper back are a little bit trickier. You can roll them with a ball, but it's really easy to destabilize the shoulder that way. So I really don't like to do that. For everybody, I like to do massage with hands. So usually up in here, chest muscles can get really tight and you can feel them. So one thing you can actually do is just kind of like massage with your fingers the chest muscles that get tight, especially like into the armpit. Gets really tight from all of this holding, especially if we have an imbalance in the muscles in our back. A lot of times we'll grip up in here. So it's really important to make sure that these get loose. And the best thing to do is just, maybe one at a time so that you're not holding your both hands up at the same time, but just kind of like gently massaging, loosening that up. You can also use your thumb for more pressure, but most people don't need that. But it's pretty gentle. You don't want to be putting too much pressure. Most people don't need it. And you're not really getting up into where there's your bones. You just want to stay on the muscular part. Can everybody feel that, the muscles in there? Yeah? Awesome. Okay, thanks for the heads up, Greggy. So let's make sure we get both sides. And sometimes your muscles can get tight into your sternum area, but usually it's closer to the outside that we want to focus on. And then for the shoulders, you just want to take your opposite hand, and you can usually feel some knots in there, and you can kind of like almost tap them. But another thing you can do is just squeeze and sort of knead the muscles in there. Another thing you can do is, if you can find a point that feels really tight, is just push. Find a point and just push and breathe and try to relax. So I'm gonna actually do this with my bad shoulder. So kind of just like squeezing the muscles back there, or finding a point and pushing, or you can kind of go in a small circular motion on top of the knot if you find one. The other thing that happens a lot is our neck and shoulders can get tight up into here, which can cause headaches. Or if your head is tight up here, it can cause tension all the way down your neck into your arm. Kind of that whole area can get really, really tight. So this works better if you have massage cream, but if you find sort of like the back muscle of your neck, like close to, you can find your spine, the top of your spine, sort of like back here, right? And then just on either side of that, you can push all the way up into your head, sort of from the base of the neck all the way up into your head. And that can help relieve tension a lot. You'd be surprised how much tension that we feel in our shoulders actually comes from up here and in the neck, and even in the lower back, actually. So that's the other thing. Sometimes if you're feeling tightness up in here and up around here, it's actually here and it can connect all the way down into here. So if you find that you have like middle back pain, upper back pain, try working down here as well and see if you can find something. The one last thing before we go is for upper back. If you want to roll out your upper back, again, you can go slightly to the side. Be careful with this one though. But put your arms up above your head. So if they're down here, it's harder to find the muscles. But if your arms are above your head and you're rolling this way, it's pretty easy to find the tight areas and gently work on them. You can very gently turn to the side, but I would actually mostly stay parallel and just get up into your back and shoulders. And don't spend too much time rolling out your upper back, just because that area is sensitive and can get destabilized. Yeah. So anyways, that's stuff that you guys can experiment with more on your own. That's all of the things that I roll out. We've learned everything: feet, calves, quads, hips, hamstrings, all the things, back, shoulders. There are some more specific things you can do for certain stretches or certain steps. And if you have any questions about that, I'll stick around for a little bit. You can feel free to put it in the chat box, unmute yourself. If you have really, really specific questions that are gonna take a long time, you can also ask them for my email and just email me questions directly about rolling. But I hope you guys are feeling relaxed and rolled out. Get some rest. You guys deserve it. Sleep in and have a great summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
Mm-hmm.